On this episode of the Work River podcast, we're going to be talking about socializing when working remote as well as when homeschooling on your homestead. Thanks for joining us, and we will see ya.
You gotta let it down, 'cause you can work wherever now.
Welcome on into the Work Wherever podcast. Hopefully you guys are checking us out on our YouTube so you can watch us and you can see our cool little studio here that we got going on, and we have Halie in the studio.
Hello.
So that means we are doing an episode of Homegrown.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are new to the podcast and this is your first time ever listening, we have 4 flavors to the podcast. We have this one, which is Homegrown, which we're going to talk about homeschooling, life as a remote worker. It's more towards like the family life. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go to homegrownwithhalie.com, which is your website. We also have 3 others that are the Roy's Rants, which is just me by myself, putting on my tinfoil hat and just having a gay old time. And then we have the Internet Hotspot, which we go over news articles and trending topics. And then we have interviews, which would be like a full-length normal podcast where people interview some entrepreneur, business owner, or somebody in the field that is going to give you some sort of advice or information. But today, we're talking about Homegrown, and this is an episode where we're talking about socializing when working remote or homeschooling. And so these are 2 of the hot topic things. I know you get asked this a lot.
I mean, not so much anymore now that we've been homeschooling for a couple years now, and
It's the same
everyone
people
that
asking
we're
the same questions, kind of.
well, like everyone we're close to who
Yeah.
would ask that question's already asked it, and then occasionally if I would get that question, where
Right.
like the bank or something,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, like somebody just you don't really conversate with on a normal basis.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, oh well. And so the question is for those of you who don't really understand the question of what we're talking about here is, if you take your kids out of traditional school, or if you're a worker and you take yourself out of the workplace, how do you socialize? Which, from a homeschooling perspective, is how do you socialize your children if they're not in a school for 8 hours or a classroom?
Mm-hmm. Well, I prefer the term institutionalized school rather than
Institutionalized
traditional,
school.
right?
Yeah.
Because but yeah, so to answer that question, well, I think that hopefully when people would ask that question, it is well-meaning and they're just curious, right? Because you and I, we grew up going to a public school where we were with our peers for 6+ hours a day. And so like we believe, or we've been told, like that's how you socialize. And so I think that if somebody was asking, how do you socialize? And they're, being like well-meaning, I would then kind of say, well, what do you mean by like socialize? Like, what do you mean by socialization? Because, the definition of socialization is pretty different than I think what people mean when they ask that question, right? Because socialization is like the concept of getting, someone to assimilate to cultural norms. And so it's actually kind of why one of the reasons why we've chosen homeschool is because we don't want our children to really assimilate to a lot of the cultural norms.
Right. You want to conform to the world.
Yeah. And like, pick up a lot of the bad habits or, have to deal with a lot of the things that these kids are being shaped by. And I would also like say that I definitely don't believe that it's like taking anything away from their ability to socialize, because if anything, they're getting an opportunity to grow into like who they can really be with a firm foundation and confident in themselves, and not have to deal with, people picking on them or bullying them. And I don't think that that's necessary to shape someone into being able to like stand up for themselves. I think that you can teach someone to be able to stand up for themselves and defend themselves in like, a civil argument, in a real way, rather than just like, oh, well, that's what happens when you go to school. You learn to deal with bullies and you learn how to stand up for yourself. It's like, well, that also does a lot of other things to someone's character. So, I want to give our kids a chance to grow into like, who they're meant to be and their full potential, and to be confident in who they are and not be swayed by, what's in, what's the new hot Tide Pod thing is.
Yeah. And all kids deal with bullying to an extent. I mean, our kids, we
deal with it in our home.
Yeah. I mean,
siblings.
Our kids weren't really bullied. That's not what we brought. I mean, that was
this isn't the
play.
reason. Yeah, no.
But to your point, though, you don't deal with it at the same level as you would, where the I mean, there's more kids than teachers, and
oh my gosh,
the kids get away with a lot.
Oh yeah, it's
I mean, we're both public school kids.
Yeah.
I went to my whole life through public school, and that's all I ever knew.
Prior to social media.
Yeah.
So it's only gotten more.
Oh, right. Social media, because when we were in school, if you were able, I was not, well, I mean, I was bullied in elementary school, but everybody was bullied in elementary school to an extent. I was not.
Right.
I was not bullied. I don't look back and think that I was bullied, but there were situations where I had to, navigate them or whatever. But when we left school, the kids went their own separate ways. And so you had kids who maybe were bullied or on the outskirts of maybe not as popular, who when they went home could mingle with the popular kids or somebody who maybe was more popular, and their confidence was boosted in other ways. And maybe they garnered a friendship, and then as they got older, they had a different circle. And now the social media aspect of it is you can't escape it. You get online and you got comments that are just, there's no escaping. And
it's beside that, I think a lot of people are being brought up, and maybe not even really intentionally, hopefully not intentionally, but they are really placing a lot of their self-worth on how many likes they get.
The effect
it is. I mean, there's definitely psychology behind it. And so I don't want that for our kids. I want them to, have a different confidence, let it come from someplace else.
And we do, let's see, when we first, because this was definitely a sticking point for us when we first started homeschooling.
Yeah.
It was, okay, now that we have complete control of their schedule, they're going to do activities.
Oh, well, so when we started homeschooling, it was during COVID. So, no one was really, being social. I mean,
that's true.
And
that is
not
true.
that, but, being social, I mean, the kids, just in our home, we have 4 children and us. And so they're learning social skills here. But then, they do a ton of things for extracurriculars. The boys swim 3 to 4 times a week in the morning, which is great. They swim with other homeschoolers.
Yeah, but as part of a rec swim club, it's a travel swim team.
Yeah,
so they have swim meets and
Right.
swim practices, and that's for an hour a day. So it's not like we're going to the pool.
Yeah, like
and
right.
They're playing by themselves.
No, they have a coach.
Yeah.
Coaches and
multiple coaches. This is legit.
Yes, it's USA Swimming.
Yeah, and so they have kids. They have programs all over the country. By the way, swimming is great. Which I grew up swimming. I didn't grow up swimming like our kids are growing up swimming. Mm-hmm. I swam in the summer, as you know. Yeah. And swim leagues in Northern Virginia. So we have the largest swim league in the country. Is part of NVSL is what it is. And our area in general is really big with swimming. I think it's the DC, Virginia, Maryland area, and then like Michigan or something like that. And then California, I think, is another big league. But like Michael Phelps is from this area. There was I forget what the other guy's name was, or something like that. He was from this area. And so there's a lot of swimmers that come from this area. So we have a lot of large leagues. NVSL is the largest league in the country. But swimming leagues, year-round swimming leagues, are all over the country. Yeah. And a lot of them appease, is that the right word? They
go where the money goes, right? So if there's a group of homeschoolers, and they go where the money goes. Yeah. So if there's enough people who are saying, hey, we would love for you to offer a time for homeschoolers, a lot of times it happens. That's what happens. So our daughter, she does gymnastics on a Thursday. Yeah. They had offered homeschool gymnastics during COVID because kids were home. And so I called to see if they were still offering it. At the time they weren't, but then they said, well, we've gotten some calls, so we're thinking about picking it back up. And so I encouraged some of our, people we know, hey, spread the word, call this gym. And if you want to do homeschool,
let's get together,
gymnastics. And so a week later I get a call from the gym that says, hey, we're opening up a time for homeschool gymnastics. And not to mention, so we've been doing it for a few months now, and the class is getting so big that they're picking up another
Yeah.
a date. So
a lot of homeschooling is like that, where
Yeah.
it's if something doesn't exist, you have to come together because
Yeah,
there is
and-
no
right.
centralized governance. You are your own
Yeah.
governing body, essentially.
Yeah, and businesses, a lot of times you get like good discounts because it's like in the middle of the day, right? Supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, we've
So-
done gymnastics. So we do gymnastics at like 1 o'clock, right?
2
2 o'clock.
2 to 3:30. Yeah.
And then we do swim, which our swim is at 9 a.m.
It's at 8 a.m.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, it ends at 9 a.m. But
Yeah.
that's swim life for you. I mean,
Well,
if
it's
you're
usually earlier.
yeah, so right, exactly. We get to sleep
Yeah.
in a little for compared to the summer schedule.
Yeah. If you swim in high school, so if you do USA swimming and you're not in Northern Virginia, your swim schedules are a lot like ice hockey, where you have swim practice at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. It's butt crack of dawn.
I love it as a homeschooler because it gives, structure to our day. So it's like
Yeah.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, we wake up and they go to swim practice. We leave the house at 7:30. They get home at like 9:45, right?
Yeah,
And so
okay.
then it's like, it's a good start to our day, structured, still getting up in the morning. There's nothing wrong with staying in your PJs all day. I know a lot of remote workers who do it,
Yeah.
but
I would say it's
it's
not
helpful
good
to
to do
stay in your
that.
PJs.
It's not good.
No, I agree. That's why I love that they swim. And then on Tuesdays, we go to co-op in the morning, and Fridays are flex day.
Yeah.
So,
Similar to that, so since you brought up the remote work side of it, because we are talking about remote workers socializing here as well, because maybe you were commuting and a lot of the way that you socialized with individuals was at the office, and now you found your place at home. Maybe you live alone, don't have any roommates, and how do I socialize? So there's multiple different ways to socialize, and businesses themselves can, what we do internally is cameras have to be on, which people hated it in the beginning. They're like, why do I have to have my camera on? My hair's all messed up or whatever. I've never had that problem. But people are weird about it at first. If you normalized a camera, people it's no longer a weird thing, and people enjoy the
well,
face.
it can also be intrusive because if you're in your home, it's like you don't really want to turn a camera on if there's a huge mess in the background.
Well,
but
turn
now
the
there's like
background.
these cool,
Right,
right?
yeah.
But now there's like the filters, and like I just immediately think of the cat filter. But
Yeah.
I more so mean the background
The
filters
background
where it can
filters.
like blur out your background,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Those
like
they're on every
Yeah.
Teams has them. Which
Right.
Teams you can upload your own. Zoom, I think you can do the same thing.
yep.
And so that you can have the backgrounds. You could blur the background.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different things. I can understand the intrusive portion of
Right.
that.
But
When you turn your video on, we definitely got a little bit of pushback in the beginning. We're like, what do you mean you want my video on? Why do you want that? But, 83 to 90% of communication is nonverbal.
right.
So if you don't have your camera on, things are getting lost in translation. And a lot of people will use that argument against remote work. But if you are not turning your camera on, you're doing remote work wrong. So a lot of people will say, oh, well, you need that collaboration. You need that interaction of the office place. Probably not. If your culture is built around like Friday pizza parties and ping pong tables and going to the office and sitting in a cubicle, you probably have a bad culture. But the idea is you turn your video camera on and you can socialize with individuals through your meetups on your daily stand-ups is what you should be doing. So you should getting face-to-face that way. And then you integrate some sort of like a Yammer or some sort of a communication platform. You encourage open communication. Similar in homeschool, we do I almost called it cohort again. Co-op.
Yeah.
We do co-ops on Tuesdays. So you, like you said, we do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday swim from. You're right. We leave that at 7:30. It doesn't start at 9. It ends at 9 from 8 to 9, and then the co-op is 10 o'clock.
9:30,
9:30.
and then it wraps up. We usually leave there after lunch, so we have lunch there, and then around 1. Sometimes like they have options for clubs after, so maybe some of the kids will stay later on
Yeah.
those days. But yeah,
We talked a little bit about the co-op on our last episode, but
yeah.
what is the co-op?
Well, our co-op. You're like putting me on the spot to be able
Yeah.
to define this co-op.
Well,
Okay,
it's like what do you
it's a
do?
yeah, it's like a what do we do?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it is a like nursery through 12th grade. So they have all ages, right?
Yeah.
Parents are involved in this co-op. So I'm the parent in our family who goes, and we are we're dedicated to a specific classroom. My first year I was assigned to the nursery, which was great because I just got to like hang out with the babies in the
Yeah.
nursery. But they have classes for every age, and kindergarten up through 12th. Once they get into 5th grade, they choose electives, so your kids get to sign up for, like, we do like gym, we've done Spanish, art, geography, those fun, like,
And these are all
fluffy classes.
These are all parent led.
Yes. Yeah. And so, and we get put in the class based upon like interest and experience, right? So our gym teacher, she is a former gym teacher. There's a lot of teachers who have like left,
teachers, yeah.
right? And so a lot of those teachers have kids, and a lot of them in this area have kind of found their way into this large co-op that we're in. But even still, like, I am teaching early elementary art, and it's great, and I love it, and I feel very confident in teaching it.
And you're not an art teacher.
I'm not an
I mean,
art.
you're
But what
artistic.
is an art teacher?
Why? Well, I guess
I
at that
sit
level,
in a classroom
at an
and
early,
get a
an
certificate.
early level, early.
Yeah.
What'd you call it? Early education.
Early elementary.
Early elementary,
Yeah.
which is like 3rd grade and under, right?
4th grade and under.
4th
Yeah.
grade and under.
Yeah.
And so, but you have an artistic background. Your aunt was a
Yeah.
artist,
Right.
so you definitely understand.
I requested to teach in an art class because
Right.
I felt like I would do a good job with it.
I think you do a great job with the leaves and all that stuff. What was that thing you guys did for the
Yeah. Watercolor leaves. Yeah.
watercolor leaves? Did you
Mm.
color the leaves? That was what you did, right?
It was primary, secondary colors. So we mixed primary colors, mixed secondary colors. And then, yeah, we went out for a nature walk and we
Nature walk.
observed the
Just
trees
the dead
changing.
leaves.
Well,
Dying
yeah, the
leaves.
dying leaves. And then we came back in and we painted with watercolors, and we used some different watercolor painting techniques.
Boom, art.
Yeah, I read a book about trees changing
Yeah.
their colors. And yeah, it was great. That was, one class, but yeah, that was one of
Right,
them.
but that's like an example.
That's an example of
Yeah.
what that looks like. Yeah.
right, and you don't have to have a
It's-
co-op to do that. But
No.
when socializing co-ops, because that's a topic of
Well, being social. Can we say being social?
being social,
Yeah.
which is just being around other people.
Yeah. And do you have to be around someone that's your age, like in the workplace?
That's a
Are
good
you
point.
around people who are only your age?
No, absolutely not.
Right. So you're social with people of all different ages.
Yeah,
And that is one thing that I notice about these homeschool kids, like at the co-op. They are so social with kids of all ages, and they're kind to the little ones. It's like the big kids are playing basketball, and like James will walk up and like he can't reach, and so somebody like picks him up and like lets him
Yeah.
shoot. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want
now
to say.
James is 2
Yeah, James.
and-
He's
and they
2.
have seniors in
Yeah.
this co-op that interact.
Well, so they during lunchtime they do split, like the middle schoolers get their own area, the high schoolers get their own area for
Right.
lunch, and then elementary gets their own area. So it's only with we're only having lunch with like nursery through 6th grade.
Right, which it's good to have those boundaries at the same time as
Yeah.
it is good to have the socialization.
Yeah, and I mean that's not to say we don't ever see or interact with the older kids,
Right.
like high schoolers. I mean, we see them a lot, and they do a lot of like service and volunteering like for the co-op. But yeah,
Which when we were in a private school, because we did private school for 1 year,
mm-hmm.
it was a K through 12,
Mm-hmm.
and you
yeah.
saw that same kind of, I don't know, is it a methodology?
Oh, well,
don't
it's like a mentorship kind of program.
Mentorship,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's so similar in like the workplace. If you like have a mentor,
Right.
the idea is that they want to help to see you succeed. That they're in a different place, that they've been where you've been, and like, and so it's not really an assigned thing in co-op. It just kind of happens naturally, just because I think the kids are brought up around their siblings, and they have an appreciation for like,
Mm-hmm.
different ages.
For me, working remote was way more beneficial.
Like, yeah, 1st grade. Remember like pep rally? It's like, yeah, 1st grade.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we like, yeah, juniors. Like, that's just kind of weird if you think about it.
Yeah,
You
it is
know?
a little weird.
I don't know. That's not really socializing.
No,
Or maybe it is socializing. It's not being social.
it's not being social.
It's being closed off to just
That's
a group.
interesting, like perspective.
Oh, yeah.
In the office, you definitely get a very healthy mixture of ages. And for me,
Yeah.
being a remote worker for as long as I have been, when I did have to go to the office, I was young when I went to the office, and I was in senior positions young,
Right.
and the respect and was very different. A lot of older people, if you're in your 20s, which I was like 26, 7, 28, 26, 27, 28, right around there, in senior level positions, and people don't take you as seriously.
Yeah.
Whereas I went remote at 29, 30, right? I'm 2 years older, and now people can't see me because we didn't do cameras back then. They couldn't see me, and it was like the relationship changed. It was like, okay, well, I can't see how old this kid is. I can only just pay attention to what he's saying
Right.
and what he's doing. And I had people who thought that I was like 40 years old. I remember telling somebody that I was 28, and they thought that I was kidding. They like laughed at me. I'm like, nah, I'm 28. Like, that's how old I am. And it was like they blew their mind, you know. And that's, so that's where I feel like remote work has helped certain individuals, and I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people out there with
Yeah.
socializing, because you remove that
Being social.
barrier, that ageism, I guess.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
which goes both ways too.
It does.
Unless you're ageism and you can't turn the camera on, then it probably doesn't help you much. But I didn't really think about that though, as comparing the co-op socializing to a workplace, because that's what many people say. Well, what happens when they get in the real world?
Well, that's why we homeschool, is to
Right.
prepare them for the real world. We're not preparing them to go hang out at pep rally,
Yeah,
you know?
I've never thought of that before.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people think of socializing or being social primarily in high school, middle school ages, where people will say high school. Well, what about high school sports? You know, what are they gonna do then?
Yeah.
Which there's a ton of sports that you can do.
We're in a really good area. So I think that
We
we
are
have
in
to
a good
recognize
area.
that, like, not everybody has, like, a lot of the luxuries that we have being in this area.
But a lot of areas do have programs that are outside. Since our area is so flushed with athletics, and
Yeah.
you know more about this than I do,
Yeah.
that there are leagues where homeschoolers can compete against private schools
yeah.
here, but
yeah.
also in other
I'm sure.
other
Yeah.
states like Florida. Tim Tebow was a
You just have to do your research.
and he got to play for the public school. I think he was like
Um,
zoning.
I don't know if it was a public school, but
Was it a
yeah.
private school?
I'm not sure.
He got to play. It's called the Tim Tebow law.
But yeah, even some private schools, they will open up, like, you know,
As long as you're within their zone. Yeah.
well, it depends. I think everything's
It's
state
based
by
on
state.
states.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to look that stuff up. But we are lucky in that sense, where we get to. But if you look at sports as a way of socialization,
Yep.
there are practices that can appease homeschoolers, where you can get a lot of the good gymnasts at our gym. They don't force.
Well, they're encouraged too.
Encouraged.
Have
There
you
you go.
thought about homeschooling? That's what I've heard some of the moms that I've spoken with at gymnastics who are homeschoolers, because we're there in the middle of the day, and so we just get to talking, and then, well, how did you start homeschooling? They say, well, my daughter was becoming competitive, and so I was asked, have you thought about homeschooling so that she can be at the gym 25 hours a week? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going on that path, but there are people who do that,
She gets
and
good,
so
maybe it's an option.
it's
We wouldn't
an
have
option.
to change our life.
We
at
would
all.
not have to change. Well, we
Well,
would,
we'd have to
because
be at
she'd
the
be at the
gym.
yeah.
Yeah.
So no, that would.
But that's not as big of a change as like pulling her out of school later when she gets good. But
Yeah.
you saw that as like the what was that documentary for the Team USA gymnastics?
That was really good.
Golden.
I don't remember.
I think it was called Golden. They're also homeschooled. All of those gymnasts.
Yeah, and homeschooling is really, it's a luxury. I know not everyone can do
Yeah.
it, but it's become like very much like a boutique type education. Like most, people who have wealth are going to look to find the best education for their children.
Yeah.
You aren't going to find it in a public school. You probably aren't going to find it in a private school either. So if you can make your own school, whether it be through home educating or private tutors, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
There's so many options.
yeah. There are
For-
consultants who consult,
And you're starting to see more schools pop up, like the cohort. We talked a little bit about that last time. The cohort, though.
Oh yes, synthesis.
Synthesis.
Yeah.
That was I keep calling it the Elon Musk school, but I guess it's not the Elon Musk.
Yeah.
It's the guy who worked with Elon Musk developed it. So it's not owned by Elon. It's owned by somebody who worked with Elon, but it's the one that everybody thinks of when everybody calls it the Elon Musk school. It's called Synthesis.
Well, okay.
Is it?
Well, so he did create his own. He homeschooled his kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he started.
So he has a
homeschool-
separate one?
He created a homeschool cottage school, I guess you would call it, for SpaceX employees, like back in the day, because he was homeschooling, and he's got like a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
And he's homeschooled all of them, and so he created a cottage school, which is like a small school for SpaceX employees for their kids. But then, someone that is, was a partner with him along the way, some point, created Synthesis, which is
essentially a software. They meet on Zoom, and the kids play together on this software to solve a problem.
Yeah, it's exactly it. So it's the art of problem solving, and so it's just like developing these like real world skills where they can overcome problems. And so they, instead of a teacher, they consider it like the facilitator, the person who's kind of like guiding the, not even conversation, but just like guiding the problem.
The kids are definitely having conversations.
Oh, the kids are
the
ones having. You don't need any guiding conversation when it comes to kids. They're just chatting away. But it's like, presenting them with the problem and then asking questions to them, to get them
to think about,
get their wheels turning.
Yeah, and they have to like. What was it like?
We'd have to have. I think Avery would have to come on.
He would have to come on.
He would love that. He would do a great job explaining it.
He would love to come on the pod. He would. What? I get to come on the pod. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll have to do that so he can talk about the gamification.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a whole episode on gamification.
Probably should.
Because you are certified.
Yeah.
Minecraft.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I've told the kids, no, that does not mean I can teach you how to play Minecraft, because they could all Minecraft better than me. It's a matter of putting, like,
use Minecraft as
a lesson plan to, crafting.
Crafting. Sorry, you're the certified one.
Yeah, it's putting a lesson plan, to Minecraft, right? So again, with like problem solving, create a sustainable village. Here are the supplies you have.
And they give you. So I know that I've seen it with you. We've sat down together, but I haven't really looked over the lessons plans or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you can teach math, history,
science,
core curriculum through Minecraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's just a matter of being creative.
I mean, homeschooling.
It's really just and it makes a connection with the kids of what they're learning, and so it helps them to enjoy it. And that's not something that we like do often. But I think it's great if you can tie learning into something that's fun. So like the kids think they're having like screen time when they are, but then they're also like enforcing some of like the concepts that they've been learning.
What's that other game they play? That math Prodigy?
Yeah, Prodigy's okay.
It's a math game though.
It's a fine math game, yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's a sometimes tool. It's
not really a tool. I would say it's a game.
It is a game.
Yeah.
100% it's a game.
Yeah.
But it's a gamification of learning.
Yes. It's
similar to Minecraft.
Okay.
Minecraft, I mean, you're playing Minecraft. Except you have to build a village for a specific reason.
Right.
Same thing with Synthesis and the gamification of Synthesis. Like, you're trying to solve a problem, but you're like shooting a rocket to the moon or Mars. You're playing a game, but the idea is the gamification of learning. Yeah,
well, and also like gamification doesn't even like need to be like manipulating things. It can be like just answering a problem, then you get a star. It's like, it's like getting those like rewards, like the like you'd say.
That's what. That's
a badge.
Yeah, the badges. They love their badges.
Yeah, right.
Which is another thing we do.
Sticker charts. It's the same thing.
We do sticker charts, but I was referring to the badges, the Trail Life.
Yeah.
That's another social thing that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the kids in Trail Life.
We do. I mean, we do a lot socially. Sometimes I think maybe we do.
I would say we do
much.
more socially now as a homeschooling family.
Yeah.
Than we did.
And stuff that like we really are enjoying. Like we're not, and the relationships that we're making, it's like, it's great. We've made so many awesome friends.
And everybody has the same.
You got to make friends if you're homeschooling.
You have to make friends.
You have to like put yourself out there, and thankfully,
most
social
of them
media
are pretty easy to make friends because everybody's like, oh, you homeschool.
Yeah.
So you have to be pretty reserved to not make friends.
Right. I mean, I don't know. People don't make friends all the time, I guess. But if you want to make friends.
Well, yeah, but you better make friends as a homeschooling.
Yes. Okay. Well, so right. It does. When people ask about socializing, right, or being social, you have to make an effort if you're a homeschooler. Because sure, like we could homeschool in the bunker all day.
Right.
Right. No, then we would not be like being healthy socially.
We could not go outside
but that's
all
not
day.
What we're doing. Right. So we're putting in a lot of effort. And it is kind of exhausting. but I love doing it because I love our kids and I love giving them this opportunity.
We are constantly running around.
And I'm not really, I mean, I think that we have enough rest. Like, we're home enough. But when we go out like with, you know, a purpose.
Not compared to, I guess, what it was like traditional school. Is that what you're calling
Institutionalized.
it? Institutionalized.
Yeah.
Institutionalized school, you have they leave the house. They're away from the house for 8 hours or more.
I don't know.
When they come home.
Yeah.
We go out of the house.
Yeah.
Probably not to that extent.
Some days, but not really. No,
But
I mean, I don't know
I
why
don't
I'd
think
want to
so.
be right away from the house that long.
I don't think so.
Somebody.
But we're doing things that we want to do.
Yeah, and stuff that's like, you know,
We go to the
enriching,
museums.
very enriching. Yeah.
You went to the.
We go to the library every Thursday.
every Thursday, right?
Yeah, every Thursday we go to the library.
We went to Mount Vernon once. They did a homeschooling day at the Capitol. So like we're outside of DC.
There's so many things. I mean,
What was
there's all
that
kinds of
Capitol
things.
thing? I know we didn't end up going, but what was it?
What do
They
you
had a
mean,
whole
what
group
was
of
it?
homeschoolers that went to the Capitol to watch
Yeah.
a Senate hearing. What was it?
No, it was like a mock hearing, yeah. But so the Capitol in DC, they have like a whole education center where you can go and learn about how the government works.
Right.
Right.
Now we happen to be in DC,
Yeah.
so that is probably unique to our area.
Yeah.
But there are things like
Great
that.
field trip area.
There are tons of it is a great homeschool area. So if you're in the Northern Virginia, Maryland area, I mean there's things everywhere. Churches put things on. Sports clubs will help you out. And look into the Tim Tebow laws, because the Tim Tebow laws, it's different in every state, mind you. Virginia actually won't allow students to play for the public school.
Right. And when you say like look into it, like I agree. Like, and you should, you know, be as proactive as you can be.
You got to be an
and
advocate.
you have to be an advocate for what you believe in, because the Tim Tebow law didn't happen before.
Right. That's why
Tim
it's called the Tim
right?
Tebow law.
So,
Right.
I mean, you got to speak up, because it's all political, and they don't, you know, our representatives, they don't really represent the people maybe as much as they should.
Yeah.
I think that it's really just a power struggle, and I mean, you do what you can to let the right people know what would benefit you and your family and your community.
Yeah. And see if you can play sports at the local private or public schools, because you, in your state, you might be able to homeschool and then take advantage of some of as a taxpayer.
Right. I'm just like, my blood is just boiling. Legally, you might be able to take advantage of your tax dollars by
They're your tax dollars that you can play sports
maybe if your school
if
will
your
let
state
you.
allows it, and maybe if it doesn't, get involved in local
And
government.
if they say no, you can push a little. And if you start to push a little bit in
Maybe
the
they'll
right
let you.
way, people will kind of wake up and say, "Oh yeah, like that."
Maybe we should do this. It's
Yeah.
come up a few times in Virginia
Because-
recently.
Yeah, I mean, right.
Which Virginia has the Northern Virginia homeschooling like team.
Fairfax Homeschool Association. Oh no, Fairfax Homeschool Athletics. There's a couple homeschool leagues.
Now they only have certain sports. They obviously don't have every sport.
Yeah, but
because
most leagues are like that, and not every school.
high schools are like that.
Right.
Like my high school didn't have hockey.
Yeah, my high school didn't have swimming. Can you believe that?
That's pretty crazy. We had
Yeah.
swimming. We were pretty good at swimming. But the homeschooling thing around us, swimming, soccer, baseball, basketball,
Tennis, just
tennis, the usual suspects. I don't think they have a football team.
they have flag football, I think.
Flag football.
Yeah.
And then what I did was I actually emailed them, because they don't have lacrosse, and our kids play lacrosse.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I noticed you don't have a lacrosse team. How can I help? And he was like, oh, great. Come to this meeting. We used to have a lacrosse team. Come on here. We didn't have enough kids.
Yeah.
And so if you can put it together,
Exactly.
then because there's other parents like us who are looking at that and
Right.
saying, oh, man, I wish they had lacrosse.
Yeah, it's like where are you investing your time?
Right.
Like, I mean,
You got to get involved.
you gotta
Which
get
we're
involved.
like crazy involved in the community. Prior to homeschooling, I don't feel like we were as involved in the community.
I mean, you don't want to take on too much. I think we have the ability to be
we
involved.
have time now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we can do things during the day
Mm-hmm.
as a family,
Right.
or whenever we want.
And that's
really.
again like teaching kids real world skills about like,
If you're homeschooling, it's probably because you want what's best for your children and you're involved in your children's lives.
With everything, there can always be the bad side, right? So, like,
hopefully you're not homeschooling for the bad reasons.
No, I hope if you are, then just
stop listening.
Yeah. No. But bad things can happen in any school setting, right? And there's, but we need to have the freedom to home educate.
Absolutely. And so to play it into the work wherever portion of it, we've taken our kids on multiple field trips, which when our Avery was we went to Disney World, and didn't we have to write
for heaven's
the
sake.
School to tell them that we were taking them out for a certain period of time? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know. I feel so when people say that they feel like, like the teachers are going to get mad at them for taking their kid on a family vacation. It's like, what?
We went for his birthday or around his birthday.
In October, which is the best time to go to Disney World.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about now, but it is usually.
It was a great time then. There was not many people there. The rates were great. We went down there, and then the school was like,
great time.
Well, we need this, and then there was attendance that we had to put up with, and it was kind of weird. But
it's whatever.
That's being social with your kids. We take them on vacation multiple times a year. We do the RV trip. We went to Disney. Well,
now we can just up and.
Since we've done,
we just got back from Nashville.
We took the whole family to Nashville.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
That was super fun.
That was cool.
That was last month.
Yeah, and then we did Hershey Park. We did Ocean City. We did Virginia Beach. We've gone all over the place, and you can do it whenever you want because there's no schedule. I don't have to. It's not like we had to.
It's my favorite part of homeschooling. It's kind of like a joke amongst homeschoolers, like during the summer when all the other kids are out of school, it's kind of tough to want to go anywhere because it's everything's so crowded. So it's everybody goes back to school, and it's homeschoolers are just yay, now we can go back to wherever the museums, and we'll be the only ones there.
It's like Jews on Christmas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Jews on Christmas, they run the town. All the people are celebrating Christmas are in their houses, and this was a joke growing up that I had a bunch of Jewish friends. And they would be like, on Christmas, we run the town. They're out.
It's exactly like that, yes. Yes.
That's how it is
for
homeschoolers.
It is.
When it's not
every
summer,
day is like a Christmas day for Jews.
What a weird...
I think that's a good way to explain
it. It makes sense, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what my friends would say. They'd be like, when it's Christmas for us, because they don't celebrate Christmas, they would go to the movies, out to eat. Now they would eat Chinese food. Yeah. Which that's where it kind of comes into is Chinese places were one of the only places open on Christmas. So, well, that is. You got anything else you want to add? Anything else on the topic of socializing?
That's good for now.
If you work from home and you're a worker listening to this,
enough of me being social for now.
Yeah. If you work from home and you're looking for other ways to socialize than maybe going to the office or something, pick up your laptop and go work from a Starbucks. Go work for one of these pop-up. I know people who go to a WeWork or something like that. You could pay $75 a month to get an office space that's a pop-up type of thing, and you can just go work in the common areas. Do it once or twice a month, and you think, oh man, $75 a month, that's a lot of money. That's probably less than you were paying.
Write it off.
You could definitely write it off.
Yeah.
And that was probably less than you were commuting in a month, cost-wise. I know for me, I was paying, I think it was $225 or $250 a month just for the train.
Oh, and yeah, right.
So $75 a month to go to an office space nearby that I could go interact with other business, professionals and stuff like that. Go to a Starbucks. Now, if you're going to do these things, don't connect to public Wi-Fi. Get an air card because of security reasons. But that could be a thing. Or what I always tell people when they're new to remote is do whatever you were doing before and then just come to your house as the office.
Right.
So if you really feel I really miss going to 7-Eleven or Starbucks or whatever and getting my coffee and newspaper, then go do that. Mm-hmm. You can still do your whole routine of getting to the office, except you're just doing a loop.
Yeah.
You know, like get in your car, go to Starbucks, get a coffee, get a newspaper, go eat your muffin, and then come home.
Yeah.
If you really, and then eventually you'll grow out of that, and you'll be like, I don't want to do that. But I do recommend getting dressed.
Yeah.
Make
your bed.
Yeah, make your bed, which we're getting better at that. I would say we make our bed 75% of the time. Yeah, we're getting better at it. But it's a good production thing. You can't just be a slob when you're working from home. Same with homeschooling. If you just because you're no longer going to school, tell your kids to get dressed. So that's the episode, guys. This has been Socializing when working remote or homeschooling. Thanks for hanging out. This has been Homegrown. So you can listen to all these episodes at goworkwherever.com. They're going to be up on Homegrown with Halie.com or HalieEdwards.com. And you'll be able to listen to all these. This is the second one we've done of this, and so we'll do batch record these, I guess. I don't know. We'll release them as we go.
Yeah.
We'll just play it by ear, I guess.
Yeah, we have good conversation.
Yeah.
I enjoy talking to you.
Mostly I like you. Yeah. So that's my wife. This has been the Work Wherever podcast. Thanks for hanging out, guys. You got anything else, Hale?
No.
Until next time. See you. Hey there. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for all the latest videos from Capital Presence.